Here we'll be multiplying complex numbers. Again, a complex number is a number of the form a plus bi, where a is the real part and bi is the imaginary part. I is the square root of -1, and therefore when we square both sides, we get that I squared is actually the real number -1. All right, we do have to keep that in mind when multiplying because as you can see, we will end up having an I times an I, which will give us an I squared. So unlike adding and subtracting, multiplying gets a little more complex and we'll end up with an I squared at some point. So when we do our first example, we do want to distribute. So first we'll distribute this the 2 through, and we'll get 8 plus 2i. Next, we'll distribute the -5i through. And yes, we are foiling. I just like to call it distributing. And we'll get minus 20i minus 5i squared when we multiply. All right, so here and here we have like terms. So I'll bring the 8 down, and then we'll have minus 18i when we combine those two terms. And then I'm going to replace I squared with what it equals. It equals -1. So we'll have minus 5 times that -1. So we'll have 8 minus 18i plus 5. 8 and 5 are both just constants, so we can combine them to get 13 minus 18i. Let's do one more example. Let's first distribute the 5 through. So we'll get 50 plus 10i. Then we'll distribute the 3i through as well. So we'll get plus 30i and then plus 6i squared. Combining the 10i and the 30i will give us 40i. We still have the 50 out front. And then we'll replace I squared with what it equals, which is -1. So we really have 50 minus 40i minus 6. We can combine the 50 and the minus 6, since they're like terms, to get 44 minus 40i. One last note, if you're asked to square something like this, that really means multiply by itself, 3 plus I times 3 plus I, and then you just use the same procedure that we did in the previous two examples. All right, that is multiplying complex numbers. The biggest thing is you have to remember that I squared is -1 and is actually a real number.